Okay, game brands, it's time to stop. Dear God, please. I can't play the audio for obvious reasons, but I just have to wonder who is this for and who thinks this is a good idea. Ocarina of Time source code has been reverse engineered. While that sounds great, the big problem is Big Daddy Nintendo and their lawyers, who are very well maybe, looking from the sidelines, biting their lips, getting ready for a good old lawsuit. One of my most anticipated games of 2022 is Dying Light 2, which has now just gone gold. The game doesn't release until February, so it going gold this early is kind of surprising. I just really hope that this ends up being worthwhile, as some of the previews and impressions that I've seen have been somewhat mixed. Todd Howard and company recently provided a new look into Starfield, highlighting how the game takes a more grounded approach with an emphasis on realism. This will truly be one of the more fascinating games of 2021, as Bethesda Game Studios has a lot to prove with their space sci-fi RPG. Showing off concept art and in-game cinematic trailers are one thing, but answering to the flaws with their game design and engine is another. All eyes will be on E3 2022 and that inevitable gameplay reveal. Halo Infinite came out of the gates on fire, and I mean that literally. Everything was so great that it was bound to happen that something would go wrong. And unfortunately, a few things have gone wrong. The multiplayer component, which surprise dropped a month early, lacks content, features a terrible progression system, many cheaters with no option to disable crossplay for console players, includes a greedy amount of paid cosmetics, yes, even for a free-to-play game, botched its first live event with lengthy, ridiculous time gates, and long-beloved features are likely not coming anytime soon. Still though, I stand by the fact that 343 nailed the gameplay of Halo Infinite, but in 2021, that's just not good enough. It just sucks that everything else that could go wrong has gone wrong, especially the fact that some of the things that 343 said about the game months ago just have not aged well. We'll be talking much more about EA DICE later in this video, but if you are waiting on Star Wars Battlefront 3, gaming insider Tom Henderson has given us the somewhat obvious answer: it's just not going to be happening. Henderson writing on Twitter that Battlefront 3 was a pitch title from DICE, but ultimately the title was shot down by Electronic Arts executives due to licensing costs. Not very surprising, considering that EA has become quite stingy about paying big licensing fees. If you don't know what I mean, look at EA's current war with FIFA, in which it appears that relationship is done. The next EA soccer game will be called EA FA or something like that. I've stated my hopes and dreams of BioWare getting their crap together, but unfortunately the crap is quite literally all over the wall. Dragon Age 4 has suffered yet another massive departure, with 23-year BioWare veteran Matt Goldman leaving the studio. This game company these last few months has become a shell of itself. It's why I refer to modern BioWare as a separate new company than the one that made Mass Effect, KOTOR, Jade Empire, Dragon Age, etc. The creativity, innovation, and reputation of BioWare is gone. What's left behind now is a lot of question marks and red flags. The Mass Effect remaster this year was great, but there's a difference between developing a remaster and a new game. In these last few years, with Mass Effect Andromeda and then Anthem and now Dragon Age 4, we're seeing many of the top lead developers abandoning ship mid-development. That does not inspire hope. That inspires me to believe this will be as messy as an Amy Schumer comedy special. In a statement, BioWare boss Gary McKay confirmed the senior creative director's departure, saying both parties mutually agreed to part ways. We understand that Matt's departure has an impact on you, as well as the game's development. Rest assured, our commitment to a high-quality Dragon Age game has not wavered. We will not ship a game that is not up to BioWare standards. What does that mean though? And the big issue is I don't know what BioWare standards mean anymore. If we're judging it based on their last new game, which was Anthem, well, that had the standards of a D-list adult film being made in the sleazy motel room in the bad part of town. Anyway, speaking of messy situations, acclaimed game director Hideo Kojima has an important message for everyone. I guess. Elden Ring also had a very interesting piece of marketing that somebody thought was a good idea, but maybe having a gameplay image of a new release that you want people to buy within big letters saying torrent next to the game's title is not the best idea. Unless that was the point and someone at From Software has a knack for the pirate's life. Arg. Star Citizen, that game that will never truly ever release and I'm convinced is a money laundering scheme, has just managed to surpass $400 million in funding. I don't really understand how or why, but I'd be lying if I said that I cared, because I don't. If the game with its $30,000 spaceships ever releases and manages to be worth the wait, I'll be shocked. CD Projekt Red wants everyone to know that they still believe in Cyberpunk 2077. They believe so much that one day it'll be considered by everyone as a very good game. I don't know why that wasn't something that everybody should have been able to believe at launch, but here we are almost a year later. And that is something that I've been saying for months now, with very little said or shown specifically about the game's future. But say what you want about the game in its current state, next year will be do or die for Cyberpunk 2077. Lately, the game has been selling very well on Steam, and it appears CDPR is preparing for a big early 2022. They've since delayed the next-gen versions and free DLC to Q1 2022. Just the other day, CDPR CEO Adam Kaczynski also revealed that patch 1.5, an update he described as major, was being delayed to early 2022 as well. Kaczynski furthermore added that the premiere taught us a lot. It gave us a kick and motivated us to make changes that will make us perform better in the future. Cyberpunk 2077 has enjoyed a new review bombing, although the big difference is that 1 year ago was negatively, this year it's positively. There is a good game here, one that hopefully will get some big overhauls and new story content in 2022, but of course this will never meet the sky-high expectations and ambitions that everyone, including myself, thought this game would deliver on when it was first unveiled at E3 years ago. In related news, CD Projekt, the parent company of CDPR, reported that the PC digital storefront GOG suffered big financial losses and now is changing. Changing how? Well, CD Projekt plans to put more focus on offering a hand-picked selection of games and transfer some developers to other projects, following the ongoing financial losses at the division. Unfortunately, GOG has always been a very small player in the PC digital storefront world. Steam has dominated, and even Epic Games has made its own mark. GOG's success really relied on CDPR's good reputation with gamers, which has been damaged severely, not just with Cyberpunk, but other questionable decisions that GOG has made. Anyway, the big stories of today that we are going to be covering is the continuing demise of Activision Blizzard, with Bobby Kotick's hilarious plan to save the company's reputation. Rockstar's GTA Trilogy remaster continues to get exposed as all eyes turn to the next remaster, which is GTA 5 expanded and enhanced. Last but not least, one of the big dumpster fires of 2021 has been the launch of Battlefield 2042 and EA DICE's questionable decision making. So 3 big video game companies each suffering giant disasters costing them billions of dollars. Now before we proceed forward, consider subscribing, follow me on Twitter, leave a like or dislike, although disliking doesn't seem to matter anymore, does it? And if you really like the content, check out my Patreon and support the channel. Nonetheless, we'll start with EA, which has mostly escaped enormous outrage with Battlefield 2042 because of, well, their competitors imploding. You have Take-Two and their GTA Trilogy, Activision Blizzard and their culture of abuse. You can even add 343 with how they seem to have botched Halo Infinite's multiplayer launch. Battlefield 2042 unfortunately seems to be no different than past games. This will be another wait a year or so and maybe the game will be worth playing then, but for now, it's a big mess. I've been playing and my review and progress is that this certainly can be fun, but the constant bugs, piss poor balance, and overall map design is frustrating. Portal though is indeed a bloody good time. The real highlight of this experience. Even hazard mode shows potential, but like with so many aspects of this game, it's severely damaged with core franchise mechanics or features just not being there. In the case of hazard mode, communication is quite key, and there not being an in-game voice chat option is just laughable. My personal frustrations with Battlefield 2042 comes from the fact that every other match I have to close the game out and load it back up because the deploy screen is broken, with it either not allowing me to deploy or I don't have the ability to customize my loadout. Then on top of that, there's been constant game freezes and servers just being completely messed up. Some of these maps, whether that be Hourglass or Orbital or Renewal, I think that's what it's called, I would love to avoid, and that's why the server browser feature was so pivotal, but for some reason it's just not here. The design for most of these maps seem to have forgotten infantry, with everything just being way too open, which has allowed for vehicles and snipers to dominate, which if that's your playstyle, good for you, but for myself, not an enjoyable time. Look, I could go on and on about the technical issues and why I don't think 128 players works well on many of these maps, but the review scores from both users and critics speaks for itself. On OpenCritic, based on 110 reviews, Battlefield 2042 has an overall score of 66 out of 100, with just 33% of critics recommending the experience. As most of you know, on Steam, Battlefield 2042 has become one of the worst rated games ever, with nearly 60,000 user reviews and just 35% of them positive. The overall consensus can be summarized as many being displeased pleased with yet another blockbuster AAA game released unfinished, as it's missing so many features and just feels like it's severely lacking content. Portal mode, though, for myself and many seems to be the saving grace of Battlefield 2042. One Steam review, though, summarizes a lot of the issues and complaints with this new installment perfectly, many of which I have discovered and experienced myself to great annoyance. On Metacritic, it's pretty much the same story, with the game on PC having an average user score of 2.3 out of 10 based on over 3,800 reviews. Gaming outlet Game Pressure has published numerous inside source accounts of what went wrong with this game. One 5-year DICE veteran claimed that leadership basically ignored all of the red flags the developers were alerting them to. Another DICE source says, what the players are buying now is not Battlefield, but instead an EA hijacked memory of what Battlefield was or what it could be. Instead of looking how to improve the gameplay for the players, monetization is dictating the direction to go with the game, unfortunately. Gaming insider Tom Henderson has begun doing the research into DICE's current staff and has found data which is similar to what I've found in the past with game companies such as CDPR and BioWare. Out of 500 DICE employees researched so far, 87% of them joined during or after the development of Battlefield 1, 58% of them joined during the development of Battlefield 2042. This is an interesting piece of information, especially following the news that the design lead of Battlefield 2042 departed from EA DICE right after launch. Again, I think it's important to understand departures from studios is not uncommon, but what is the sheer amount of people leaving in a certain time frame. It's why I've described BioWare and even CDPR to an extent as different game studios compared to what they once were. Many of the experienced veteran staff have moved on for a variety of reasons. With Battlefield 2042, Henderson specifically pointed out the audio team, which the audio in this game is complete trash, and this kind of gives you an idea on why that is. Now, with all of this outrage and frustration, EA and DICE have been doing some big damage control. DICE has announced and already is implementing a variety of bug fixes, and they've said that they're carefully evaluating your desire to see legacy features return. Which, I don't know, that's a bit of a strange remark. End of match scoreboard, server browser, and voice chat are singled out by DICE as features they're looking into, and the problem I have with that is, why are we finding this out now and not months before launch, when the same company was essentially saying they were way ahead of schedule, something we now know not to be true at all. DICE has also claimed that Battlefield 2042 has reached almost twice as many players at this point compared to 2018's Battlefield 5, a game that EA declared as not meeting their sales expectations. Interestingly, no specific numbers are provided by DICE to the millions playing, but at least in the UK with physical sales, they are down 59% compared to Battlefield 5, although this does not give an accurate picture, as digital sales have taken over in recent years. Now, where it does matter with player retention, we've seen more than 50% of the day one players moving on, and actually right now, Farming Simulator 2022 is almost double the player size of Battlefield 2042, at least on Steam. Now, EA's big holiday juggernaut was supposed to be Battlefield 2042, and right now, at least in the investing world, it appears many are unimpressed with how things are going down. EA's stock, since the game's early access launch on November 12th, has taken a beating, with it down over 20 points, 15% of its value lost, and $5 billion in market cap lost. EA is having a very bad month, which is not getting talked about much because of their competition. Their big competitor every holiday season is Activision Blizzard and their yearly Call of Duty release, although Activision Blizzard has bigger problems right now, with many calling for CEO Bobby Kotick to resign following an explosive report coming from the Wall Street Journal, which portrays Kotick as someone who has protected, encouraged, and even took part in the abuse and misconduct that has happened under his watch for over a decade. The heads of Sony, Nintendo, and Xbox have all shared statements of disgust and shock with how Activision Blizzard has been run. Sony head Jim Ryan saying in a statement that Activision has not done enough to address a deep-seated culture of discrimination and harassment. Xbox head Phil Spencer said that they were evaluating all aspects of our relationship with Activision Blizzard and making ongoing proactive adjustments. Nintendo head Doug Bowser said that they were in contact with Activision, have taken action, and are assessing others. It appears all three game companies are putting pressure on Kotick to resign, but thus far, Kotick has resisted. Kotick has actually formed the Workplace Responsibility Committee, led by 2 female executives, which I guess is supposed to get progress reports from Kotick and other executives on the company's progress with not being a total dumpster fire and a piece of shit. Kotick has also said to a group of Activision executives that he'll consider resignation if the workplace issues are not fixed with speed. You know, those same workplace issues issues that Kotick caused, the same ones which essentially had Blizzard president J. Allen Brack thrown to the wolves. Pretty much what this means is that Kotick is not going anywhere unless majority of shareholders step in, or if Xbox, Sony, and Nintendo were to do something drastic, like maybe say, removing Activision's games from their digital storefronts. Since this debacle began about 6 months ago, Activision Blizzard stock has cratered, losing about 40% of its value and over $30 billion in market cap. As of recording this video, that Activision stock has continued to plummet further. Kotick, who is a part of the Coca-Cola board of directors, the more you know, is now facing pressure to have him removed from that board, with a shareholder group writing a letter to Coca-Cola's CEO asking him to remove Kotick due to the serious allegations of misconduct and abuse that he faces. Furthermore, legal pressure is heating up as treasurers from California, Massachusetts, Illinois, Oregon, Delaware, and Nevada have all demanded the company make meaningful change. Illinois State Treasurer Michael Freerichs told Axios, "We think there needs to be sweeping changes made in the company. We're concerned that the current CEO and board of directors don't have the skill set nor the conviction to institute these sweeping changes needed to transform their culture, to restore trust with employees and shareholders and their partners. Besides the misconduct and abuse controversy, Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4 have lost key creative leads and suffered huge delays recently. On the Activision side, according to game outlet VGC, Vanguard was Call of Duty's worst UK launch in 14 years. In a year this company needed solid performance, it has not happened. And all of this comes together, creating what appears to be the walls closing in on Kotick and his time as the CEO of Activision Blizzard. Now, another company that has lost a few $1 billion this month is Rockstar Games and parent company Take-Two Interactive. Take-Two stock has tanked since the GTA Trilogy remaster has released, losing about 23 points, 12% in value, and about $2 billion in market cap. When they aren't busy suing GTA modders, Take-Two has also been busy going after just about anyone using Rockstar, Take-Two, or Bully in their trademarks, because I guess Take-Two feels they own those words. Can't have projects from small companies such as Don't Be a Rockstar, Be a Legend, or Grub Rockstar Catering, or the Rockstar Princess, as that clearly is infringing on Rockstar's name. And I guess we're just supposed to ignore the energy drink. More interestingly, it appears earlier this year Take-Two went after Hazelight Studios for their game It Takes Two, and opposed them trademarking the name. It's quite something seeing these giant corporations essentially taking ownership of some of the most basic names of phrases. We've seen similar things in the past when Bethesda prevented anyone from using scrolls, and CDPR doing the same thing with Cyberpunk. With Take-Two though, it is funny seeing them preventing anyone from using their name, considering its reputation is the equivalent to the dog crap that I stepped in last week. Content creator and data miner Vadim M has continued to dig into the GTA Trilogy remaster, and it does tell an interesting story. Thanks to some of the unintentional files that were left in the day one version, we have notes of Grove Street Games staff becoming irritated with the requests that Rockstar's testers were making. It points to this project behind the scenes not going all that well. In one note, a Grove Street developer writes, "Stupid exception, if the trailer is flipped and the cab isn't, the testers care, I guess." And in another note from the Grove Street staff, "Do this at the fade because testers are complaining that they can see the dissolve of the dead pedestrian. Come on." Which that last part is quite something, considering what should have been the sky-high expectations for remastering such beloved games. Tez Funds 2, another well-known Rockstar insider, reported just about a week ago that he was hearing from sources that Rockstar is allocating more resources and developers to assist with the GTA Trilogy remaster post-launch development, patches, fixes, etc. There's a fair chance release windows for Grand Theft Auto Online and Red Dead Online updates might be pushed a bit further back than the usual timing, which don't worry Red Dead Online players, Rockstar has some free beans for you to make it up to you. In all seriousness, Rockstar may be coming in to fix the technical side of these remasters. I think a new update actually launched just today, but we're still hearing nothing on the design side because it just, again, doesn't seem to be of interest to Rockstar. The physical versions of this GTA Trilogy remaster have since been delayed, with the console versions moved back to December 17th and Nintendo switched to early 2022. Have to believe Rockstar wants to fix these games up as much as possible before shipping out the game discs. The most recent update for this trilogy Trilogy had over 100 bug fixes, and you too might be wondering how games from well over a decade ago were re-released with so many issues. The easy and most obvious answer is that a certain parent company, Take-Two, didn't care about the quality and just assumed people would be totally fine with lesser versions of these beloved titles because it's made by Rockstar Games. Well, we assumed it was made by them, who has an ironclad reputations with gamers and everybody. Well, maybe not so ironclad anymore. To give credit where credit is due, with this newest 10GB update, it does appear that Rockstar is tackling some of the big issues with this remaster. Almost seems like more is getting done now than what Grove Street did in 2 years of development. Ouch. Regardless, old Reese has been kinda fixed. Well, he's at least old now with that divisive art style. This gives hope that maybe one day Denise will actually look better. Maybe. Rockstar's logo on the minimap in Vice City has also been fixed. The original menu sounds have been restored to Vice City and San Andreas. Not really sure how that was removed in the first place. Players are also reporting that San Andreas now has fog over the map. It's not implemented to perfection, but it's better than before, although modders seem to have done a far better job thus far with implementing fog. Better watch out for that lawsuit, I guess. Rain effects also appear to be much better. CJ's muscle textures have been fixed, and the back of jerseys actually look how they should. Baby steps, I suppose, as many issues remain, but maybe in a few weeks these games will function closer to what the OG games did back in the day. But just to understand how lazy and bad this GTA Trilogy remaster actually is, Vadim M further discovered that Grove Street used the poorly received mobile ports of these beloved games as the basis of this remaster. As he says on Twitter, here's another confirmation that we are playing highly modified mobile ports. There's still this widget left in the code, which asks you to choose touch controls. If it's not clear what this means, it's that the definitive edition is quite literally just the crappy mobile ports with an Unreal Engine renderer. Well, of course Grove Street deserves much of the blame. Rockstar and Take-Two still allowed this to be released. What they should have done is realize sometime during mid-development how poor of a job Grove Street was doing and allocated more resources over before releasing this, but they did not, and instead sent legal threats to modders of the original trilogy, decided not to release gameplay before launch, and did not send any early press review copies, all major red flags. And that's what I call scummy, but right now Take-Two is enjoying the consequences from that decision. I guess the question now is, what will the next gen version of GTA 5 look like, and will Take-Two continue attacking the modding community with legal threats? The GTA 5 expanded and enhanced edition even before this trilogy mess was getting severely mocked for barely being an upgrade but costing full price. I just wonder if Rockstar will invest a few more resources and time, truly showing consumers that they still care about putting out quality products, especially after this debacle. Only time will tell, but you have 3 gaming companies that we talked about today losing billions of dollars in value this month for numerous reasons, but the big ones primarily being corporate greed. For EA, Battlefield 2042 was their big holiday release. For Take-Two, the GTA Trilogy remaster was supposed to be a huge boost. And for Activision Blizzard, COD Vanguard has disappointed. Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4 have been delayed to 2023 and beyond. Then of course you have the horrendous company culture. Will things change next year? Probably not, as this industry never seems to learn anything. Anyway, what do you make of everything that we discussed today? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. But thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this video or if you found any informative value, and make sure to follow my other social media accounts for updates on new videos. Links are always down in the description below. I'm most active on Twitter, giving opinions on news that I do not always get in video form, so do make sure to follow me over there. Also check out my Discord for all sorts of discussion on games. And again, thank you for joining. Consider subscribing for more videos like this, and I'll see you later.